Hi there, Johnny here from johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk and welcome back to the PreSonus Symphonic Orchestra series. This is episode number 6 and we are continuing our look at the percussion section. This is percussion part 2. So in this week's episode we are going to look at some of the hand percussion. So we're going to be looking at castanets, claves, tambourine and tempo blocks, and then we'll move on to cymbals and gongs and some more of the chimes and bells, which came up in the percussion sets that you can get as well, which we looked at last week. So we saw those a little bit in action, but we'll go into a little bit more depth because the actual single instruments, there's a lot more to them. So let's go take a look at what we got. We are going to start with tambourine, which I've already got loaded up here. There are no key switches for this. You will notice there are absolutely none, and it's a very, very small playing area here, just basically from C3 to F sharp 3, and you get some different playing techniques. In the general PreSonus percussion section that is not part of the Symphonic Orchestra add-on, the general percussion instruments that you can get with the Presence XT, you'll find that there are some more tambourine playing techniques that are much more of a contemporary style. I just banged the mic there, sorry about that. That are a much more contemporary kind of like, shaking 16th note type playing techniques, whereas this one is a bit more kind of orchestral color techniques that we are going to look at. So, excuse me, I'm still recovering from flu and I've got a very sore and dry throat at the moment, so I apologize for my voice and my coughing. Alright, so let's take a look. So check this one out. This is like your standard striking at different velocity levels. This tambourine is a tambourine that has a head on the top, which would, the contemporary ones would have either fiber skin or they are nylon heads, plastic sort of heads in more contemporary, but you do get some calfskin ones still, which make a beautiful tone. Not really sure what this one is, but if you play lightly, you get very slight little finger taps on the side of the drum, the side of the tambourine rather, or you can give it a bit of a whack. And then we get these ones. That's a bit more of a shake and kind of like striking the side of the tambourine into the palm of your hand, whereas that one's much more striking the center of the head. So that gives you different tones there that you can play with. And then we've got some really, really fast shaking. Which has got like a nice big slap of the tambourine into the side of the other hand, the non-shaking hand. And then you got this one here. Now what I like about this one is it starts with the shaking really, really narrow and fast, and then it opens up a bit more. You can really hear the jingles rattle. And then we get this one. Now this is a really interesting technique. To make that sound, effectively what you do is you moisten your thumb or a finger, and then you gently rub your finger across the head of the drum. That creates vibrations that sets the jingles off. So you'd maybe rub your thumb around the outside edge of the drum head that's on the tambourine. You cannot really do this on a tambourine that doesn't have a head. You can, but it's not nearly as effective as doing it with one that has a head, because you get the tone of the head as well as the jingles. And then we've got this one. Now what's cool about that one is you know, kind of with where is it? This one here. You've just got the jingles. This one you can hear the head as well. So those are really nice effects with a tambourine there. Those are going to come in very handy. Let's have a look at tempo blocks. Tempo blocks are lovely. And you do get some key switches here for different. These are basically key switches for different sets of tempo blocks. So let's start with the first one, and then here's your playing area here. Now tempo blocks are tuned pieces of wood that are slatted at the front. And they're called tempo blocks because they get played in temples in the Orient, so Buddhist temples, that kind of thing. So let's try this one. These ones are a little bit more kind of pentatonic sounding. You can really give them a whack as well and you get a different tone. Lovely sound. Try a different one. Bit more diatonic, these ones. You'd never play that in a temple. Let's try these ones. Ooh, these ones are a bit more aggressive. You would never get them playing blues in a temple either. Let's try these ones. Those ones are a little bit darker sounding. That's tempo blocks. Very nice. You can play very nice patterns on those. Claves. Not to be confused with the rhythmic pattern of samba music, or mambo music, which is the clave, which is a pattern of 3 notes followed by 2 notes. Either it's the 2 notes coming first, or the 3 coming after it. That's a different thing altogether. Claves are the instrument that usually play that particular pattern. And essentially they are 2 cylindrical pieces of wood that you strike together, forming a sort of cup shape in the non-striking hand with the wood that's going to be struck. And that basically allows the struck piece of wood to vibrate more freely, and you create a little amplification chamber with your hand when you strike one against the other. If you were to hold it too hard, it would get a much more brittle sound, and it wouldn't sound very great. And so you want to strike the clave that's being struck in the middle of it. If you strike it towards the end, you will get a dull, dead sound, which is what they call the nodal point, and you don't want to strike it there. So there you go. That's how you play claves in reality. But because we're doing it here, you don't need to do that. There are no key switches. In real life, claves are not tuned. For some reason, these ones are. I should not be able to play a D minor chord with claves. So, oh, excuse me, I just snorted in the mic. I do apologise. So yeah, you would never, they're not, so basically use these as indefinitely pitched. I wouldn't use these as pitched. Just find one you like. That's kind of more what I would call a traditional kind of clave pattern played on claves. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's claves. Fantastic instrument. castanets. Now, you're going to get a few key switches with these. Oh, actually, you don't. I thought you did. I do apologize. I'm mistaken. Okay, so basically you get the two, where are they? Here they are. Oh, I see. So this is kind of like your castanet roll. And they're the two tones that you would get in castanets. You get two pairs. So you play something like this. Something like that. Castanets are Spanish instruments meant to go with flamenco dancing. So we've done temple blocks, tambourine, claves, and castanets. Okay, let's move on to cymbals and gongs. Let's start with some Thai gongs. Again, no key switches. Ooh, isn't that lovely? Now these are tuned because Thai gongs are tuned. Meant for Buddhist ceremonies, and generally they play one pattern constantly over and over again. Basically, the music that these would form part of, each instrument in the group of percussion instruments that this is associated with, everybody would be playing a pattern over and over again, and they all fit together. These are tuned, but they're not tuned to a Western scale. And yes, you can give them a wallop. Get some overtones going. Nice, and they resonate beautifully. Thai gongs, absolutely gorgeous. Orchestral gongs. These are more your traditional orchestral gongs. So we played about with these a little bit last week. As you roll on a gong. Oh, some special effects. So this is rivets. This is striking with rivets running down the side of the gong. And that's kind of like a scrape along the side. You get this a lot in horror films. And then various mutes. I love that. The contrast. This to me sounds like what happens when you take a pan and you put the pan under the tap and you strike it with a spoon, a wooden spoon, when it's half full of water, and then you tilt the pan a little bit. Where is it? Here. Nope, that's not it. Here. You get that bending effect. Sure, that's not what it really is, but there you go. Okay, Japanese bowls. These are very beautiful. I think there is just the one key switch here. Let's have a look. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I don't think there is really a key switch. Playing area is all the way up here. Again, these bowls would be used in Hindu temples for meditative purposes, with a very, very nice sounding. And then you get a whole bunch of cymbals, orchestral cymbals of various types. General wallop with a stick. And then that's a roll. And nothing there. Slow roll. And then these are cymbals struck together. And then the cymbal, can you hear the cymbals are allowed to kind of wave? Oh, smack the mic again. Allowed to wave and flex. I'm gesticulating. You can't see me, but I'm gesticulating. I'm gesturing. I'm showing you how it's done, but you can't actually see it. It's hilarious. Sorry. But you can hear how the cymbals are allowed to kind of flex about in the air. Some more rolls. I like this one because you can really hear the cymbals getting to sway about after the cymbals have been struck together. So these are all of various lengths. Really short one here. Very, very short. Oh, this is kind of reverse. To get that effect, you start with them close and then you rub them together and open them out and let them ring. Very, very nice. Very effective. And cymbal set 1. Let's have a look what we got here. More of the same, but a brighter sounding cymbal. Alright, let's move on to, let's close that folder up. We'll look at the chimes and bells, and we'll look at the ones we didn't look at. So we already looked at the cowbells a little bit, and the crotales a little bit. Let's have a look at the glockenspiel. Glockenspiel is a very nice, delicate instrument, brought in the classical period, and sounds very effective when just used as sparingly as a colour instrument to kind of accent a melody. You get these a lot in marching bands as well, for the same reason, to accent a melody, to make sure the melody carries, because they're very, very bright, very percussive, and so they can double oftentimes with piccolos and make the melody really, really come through, especially if you're outdoors on the parade, you know, kind of certain notes are going to get lost in, you know, kind of the wind and everything else. But if you've got piccolos, excuse me, if you've got piccolos and glockenspiel playing the same melody, then it really carries through and cuts through. And you tend to play them with hard mallets, as you can hear, so there's a lot of attack. You can play blues on them as well if you really, really want to. I've never played blues glockenspiel before, so that was new. Shell chimes, let's have a look at these. Not much of a playing area here. You get these a lot in film scores. If you're wanting to emphasize something like it, let's say you've got a character who's starting to go a little bit mad, he's starting to lose his marbles a bit, and you know, you might use this to indicate kind of his state of mind. Particularly this one. You know, give that a whole ton of reverb and a little bit of a phaser effect on it, and it will really give the idea of, you know, kind of like the impression of what this character's state of mind might be like. At least that's how I would use it. Shell chimes, very, very useful. Tubular bells. Mike Oldfield made these very famous with his album dedicated entirely to them, called Tubular Bells, and it features a melody on the tubular bells, and then it kind of, he adds loads and loads of instruments. I keep on hitting the microphone, sorry. He adds loads and loads of instruments to it, but basically it started out as tubular bells. Tubular bells get used in film scores a lot, particularly if you want something anthemic and strident, then having a section of your melody played on the tubular bells is going to help you get that. Or, you know, if you want that kind of wedding bell effect. Now, tubular bells are long metal tubes, hence the name, and they are struck with mallets, wooden mallets, that literally look like the kind of mallet you would use to hammer tent pegs into the ground. Similar kind of hammer. And I mean, you can use rubber ones as well if you want a softer effect, but generally wooden mallets, and they stand on a frame, and you kind of, they generally, unless you're really, really tall, they tend to be taller than you, and you're tending to reach up quite a bit, and they are laid out chromatically like a piano keyboard would be. And they do have a sustain pedal to go with them as well. But they do have some natural sustain, but you can actually take away that sustain with a dampening bar that is usually fixed to the bottom of the tubular bells. So there you go, that's tubular bells. Very, very nice indeed. Wind chimes are another very good special effect instrument. Again, great for kind of emphasizing something weird is happening. So you'd get to use those quite a lot in film scores. Or if you're wanting just to add a little bit of romance as well, you might use them. So that pretty much wraps this up, I think. Oh, we've not looked at the triangle. We did a little bit of triangle with the percussion set, but we haven't really explored it very well. So let's have a look. There you go, there's your little roll. There's one that's crescendoing. Nothing there. Different pitched one, this is a lower pitched. Oh, now that's very good. That one lasts a little bit too long. Until it's damped. What I like about this one is it's you release it and it's instantly damped. But these long ones are very long before they eventually get damped. But equally very, very useful. So that's the triangle. So we've done the bamboo chimes, we've done the cowbells, we did crotales, we did, I don't think there's anything different about the crotales that's different from the percussion set that we looked at last week. Not really. Did we miss anything out? I don't think we did. And the cowbells are all nice and tuned cowbells. So you've got plenty of options to choose from there. You can actually have them playing a melody if you really, really want to. But as I've always said, you can't get enough cowbell. So there we go. That wraps up the percussion section of the orchestra. So in next week's episode, we will look at the choir, and we are rapidly coming towards the end of what you get for the PreSonus Symphonic Orchestra. So the choir will be what we'll look at next time. That again also might be a two-parter because there's a lot to look at there. And the final episodes will focus on the music loops, of which there are aplenty. So we'll pick a few out and we will have a play with them. So until next time, bye for now.